The Mongolian steppe is one of the harshest places on Earth. Wind blows across it without anything to slow it down. No forests, no hills, nothing. Temperatures drop to -40 degrees Celsius and sometimes even lower. Wind chill pushes the cold past -50 degrees Celsius. Exposed skin freezes in minutes. Metal shatters. Water turns to ice in seconds. Yet right in the middle of this frozen landscape, a white dome sits on bare ground, with smoke rising from its center. Inside, a family sleeps in warmth. This structure is called a ger. Westerners call it a yurt, though that word actually means territory, not shelter. The ger is not a tent. It is a carefully designed survival machine. Every single part of it was refined over thousands of years through disaster and experience. Every single part of it was refined over thousands of years through disaster and experience. The walls are made of collapsible wooden lattice panels that form a diamond pattern. This pattern spreads the weight of snow evenly across the structure, so no single point breaks under pressure. The wooden pieces are not joined with metal because at -50 degrees Celsius, metal becomes brittle and conducts cold straight into the building. Instead, strips of wet camel hide are used. As the hide dries, it shrinks and creates a grip stronger than any metal joint while still staying flexible enough to absorb the shaking of a blizzard. The shape of the ger is not an accident either. A rectangular building presents a flat face to the wind, which creates pressure on one side and a dangerous vacuum on the other, forces strong enough to tear a roof off. The ger is circular. Wind flows around it instead of crashing into it. The cone-shaped roof is low and close to the ground, which pushes wind pressure downward rather than creating lift. The harder the wind blows, the more firmly the ger presses into the earth. The insulation is felt, a thick sheet made from sheep wool. Wool fibers have tiny microscopic scales on their surface. When heated, moistened, and beaten together, these scales lock into each other and create a dense mat that cannot be pulled apart. Making felt is a community effort. Loose wool is wetted, rolled tightly around a pole, and then dragged behind a horse across the steppe for miles. This pounding compresses the fibers until they become one solid, heavy sheet. But felt does more than just block cold. It actually generates heat. Wool absorbs moisture from the air. When it does, a chemical reaction releases energy. Research shows that 1 kilogram of dry wool can release around 100 watts of heat for several hours. So as the night gets colder and the air inside gets more humid from breathing and boiling tea, the walls of the ger quietly warm themselves up. The stove sits exactly at the center of the ger. This is not tradition, it is physics. Heat rising from the central stove hits the cone roof and rolls down along the curved walls, creating a loop of warm air that reaches every corner of the circular space. There are no cold corners in a circle. The stovepipe goes straight up through the tonneau, the central wooden ring at the top, which is the only opening in the entire structure. It works as a skylight, a chimney, and a clock all at once. Because the door of the ger always faces south, sunlight enters through the tonneau and travels along the inside walls at a predictable rate throughout the day. Mongolian families divided the day into 12 animal hours and could tell the time simply by watching where the beam of light fell on the wall. No watch needed. The house itself was the clock. The fuel used in the stove is dried animal dung, mostly sheep and goat waste compacted into dense blocks. These blocks burn slowly and steadily, with an energy density close to low-grade coal. The family also adapted their own bodies to the cold. The winter diet is heavy in meat and fat from sheep, beef, and horse. Digesting these dense foods produces significant internal body heat. The body becomes its own furnace. Even the clothing is engineered. The long coat, called a deal, is wrapped around the body and tied tightly at the waist with a silk sash, trapping warm air directly against the chest, heart, and lungs. The upturned tips of Mongolian boots create a small air pocket in front of the toes, protecting them from the freezing metal of stirrups during long hours on horseback. Perhaps the most important feature of the ger, however, is not its warmth, it is its portability. A skilled family can dismantle the entire structure in 30 to 60 minutes and rebuild it somewhere else in 1 to 2 hours. Everything loads onto 2 or 3 camels. This is not convenience, this is the ultimate survival strategy. The steppe is subject to disasters that can kill 90% of a herd one season. When pastures fail, herders pack up and move hundreds of kilometers to safer ground. A permanent house in this landscape becomes a trap. The ger is an escape pod. Today, however, this system is being tested in a way it was never designed for. Hundreds of thousands of former herders have moved to the capital, Ulaanbaatar, and set up their gers in fixed shantytowns. When the ger stops moving, the ground beneath it freezes permanently and steals heat. The smoke from coal fires, used instead of dung in the city, gets trapped in the valley and creates some of the worst air pollution on the planet. The same felt walls that were designed to seal in warmth now seal in toxic particles. Remove the mobility and the whole system breaks. The Mongolian ger is proof that human ingenuity, when it works with the laws of nature instead of against them, can survive conditions that seem designed to destroy life. Wind shaped the circle. Cold shaped the wool. The herd provided the fuel. Disaster created the need to move. Every piece fits together. Shelter, food, clothing, fire, all pointing at the same problem. Stay alive when the world outside is minus 50 degrees. 3,000 years of refinement produce not just a home, but a machine perfectly tuned to one of the most brutal environments on Earth.